talk about today. We're going to talk about service professional loyalty, a supplier's perspective. I know you all can't wait to hear from these suppliers. Hey, I want to thank so much the sponsors for the Town Hall Academy, Jasper Engines and Transmissions, and Repair Pail. Now, performance and reliability, that's what Jasper's remanufactured diesel engines provide mile after mile. Jasper's running complete engines are dynamometer tested with horsepower and torque ratings recorded. There's a nationwide warranty included too. Talk about dependable service. You know, fleets are keeping their vehicles longer. Jasper diesel engines. Thanks, Jasper. And Repair Pail, engaging with customers away from the shop is important to your retention rate. That's why Repair Pail provides consumer-facing articles to your network to use for newsletters and to use online. Learn more at repairpail.com/shops. Always good to have them with us. Hey, who do we have here? We've got 3 suppliers. Excited to have them here. Brad Hartline, Hyde Villa Auto Parts. He's the president there. Pottsville Auto Parts, the president there, and Hyde Villa Auto Parts. You own everything out there in Reading. Amazing,
not quite.
Brad. Oh,
I left room for partners.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Great concept. So thanks for being here, Reading, PA.
Thank you.
Trevor Martin, the president of VACA. Is it VACA?
Vaca Valley.
VACA Valley Auto Parts, Fairfield, California. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
I see you've got a Federated logo. You're with Federated?
Yes, we are. We're a Federated member.
Brad, you are?
Napa.
Very good. And also Mark Stablefeld, Fairfax Auto Parts. Lordy, sales management operations for a company in Northern Virginia?
Yes, I recently relocated down outside of Phoenix, Arizona, so now in operations, but have my hand in the Napa system.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, good for you. So what we have is some extremely qualified people. I know, Mark, you worked for Gates a while back, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was a manufacturer's rep for Gates, calling on Napa stores in the Mid-Atlantic.
Cool. So you guys got an incredible amount of experience, and no doubt can help us take this episode in some really exciting ways. So let me start with you, Trevor. I really want to start this dialogue. By the way, chime in anytime anybody's got anything to say, because I usually do. Okay.
You got it.
You got it.
So, Trevor, where we were talking about loyalty. Where does it start?
You know, it's a broad question. I think for us, loyalty starts with relationships and our people. People are the key that start all the things that we're going to talk about today. One of the big things is your asset, which is inventory, right? So if you don't have the inventory, then you're probably not going to get the call, which goes to your people. The second biggest thing is service. And with that service comes back to your people. You have to have a hotshot delivery today. You have to be able to answer the phone with professional, knowledgeable staff. You have to have an e-commerce platform that, you know, the installer prefers or goes to. And I think all of these things start with that loyalty. Price is definitely in there. If you're not priced correctly on your inventory, then you may not get that next call. But I think all these are the important starting points of what we're talking about today, and that loyalty.
You brought up such a huge topic. You brought up the word price.
Correct.
Can I just jump into that? Not that I think
Sure.
it's really high on the list, but the discussion point I believe that's important is the word transparency of pricing. It seems to me that a shop customer can leave the shop, run his request on the internet, and find out what the part costs in e-com.
And that's correct. And I think today the biggest thing with your e-com and price is you have to be within a percentage of everybody. In today's internet world, we can all be minimized 7 deep on whatever your supplier is, Amazon, eBay. So we're all faced with that challenge of being cross compared to our competitors or otherwise. So price isn't the ultimate, but if you're a 40 to 50% higher than your next guy, you're probably going to get the call on that piece. So I think while it's not the defining reason they're going to call, I think it's something that we all consider and that we all have to be within a percentage of each other to play in that market.
Listen, you guys are talking about this at your meetings. You're talking about this in your own groups. Tell me what you're saying, because there's this gap between price and value, that perceived value that someone is getting for
Well,
their price.
I think what we hear is that you need to be competitive, and I think Trevor hit it. You need to be within a certain range, and if you get within that range and you provide the services necessary, you're going to begin to develop the loyalty that we're trying to all get with our customers. Communication is the key. We get a lot of good feedback from customers. I think everybody has those customers that they can talk to kind of intimately, and they'll give you information. Customers are fairly open for the most part. A good outside salesperson will also gather up good information for you, whether it's, I shouldn't say this, but above board or below board. They'll find things sometimes that will help us get information and gather it, and then we can address it and be appropriately priced and service our customers appropriately.
You just said a mouthful. I mean, really big. And one of the things you said is to talk about that.
Yeah.
So are you finding, all three of you, are you finding that the service professional has no problem picking up the phone and calling you as the CEOs of your company, or communicating with the sales manager, the store manager? Hey, I just want to let you know this happened. I need to let you know this is going on. I need to let you know. Do you have that relationship?
Yeah, most of our customers aren't shy. They're fairly vocal, and they'll often tell you. I mean, the ones that don't call are the ones you find out over time have gone away, and then you have to address a problem if they're gone away. But most of them will call you and say, "Hey, I was just on the internet, and this thing's $10 cheaper than you are. What's going on?" And you either have a reason or you don't. And sometimes the reason's internal, sometimes it's an external factor. But they generally will talk to us.
How many calls like that a day do you get?
I don't know if it's daily, but it's weekly for sure. I just finished a call about an hour ago with a customer addressing a pricing issue.
Yeah, and I would agree with that same thing, Carm. Is it's not a daily thing, but it is a weekly. And those relationships are we talked about a minute ago. That's the important part, is to have that relationship, and your customers will share that with you if you have a personal touch with them.
Mark, do you find that those customers would bolt if they don't get a good answer from you?
I think if I can kind of switch gears a little bit, one thing that customers mention and bring up routinely is warranty. What's your warranty? What's your warranty policy? What's your labor claim policy? And I think what they're really asking is, help me with the complexity of repairs. And where we as suppliers should see an opportunity is through training. With the parts proliferation, of course, say that quickly a couple times. Parts proliferation, the complexity of repairs, we as suppliers need to make sure that we are engaging with our shop wholesale customers and doing whatever we can to bring them into training, because pricing really is, even on the list you sent out, Carm, earlier yesterday, pricing is probably fifth or sixth on the list. Customers bring up pricing, but it's the vehicle that they're using to say, hey, help.
They're opening up the dialogue by saying, listen, there's a $10 bill issue here, but hey, can you help me on a warranty problem that I have?
It's the whole package, and I think that's what Mark's saying. It's more than pricing. It's the whole package. What do you offer in services in a complete way, not just here's my price. It's how do you service them? What kind of product do you distribute to them? How do you handle warranties and returns? All the things that go together that make a customer hopefully a happy customer.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all the things we have all in our toolboxes, whether you're, a Napa Federated, whatever your affiliation is, we all have these things in our toolbox, and that may be training, that may be warranty, that may be extra sites as far as internet sites, labor, those type of things. And all those are important to the customer's loyalty. But what Mark was talking about as far as the training, I think it's hugely important, and I think everybody would agree. The shops need that training, and for us to be able to provide that helps all of us connecting with the customer, learning about the products, warranties. It just is a great pullback and a good tie through.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I do want to drill down on training. A friend of mine, Tom Ham from Automotive Management Network, I was speaking to him earlier in the week, and I said, I'm doing the show Friday on supplier loyalty. And he goes, we've never done a survey like that. So I sent him up, 30 key tactical bullet points, if you will. And training was way down the bottom of the list, guys.
Mhm.
I mean, he only had it out for a couple of days, but I was surprised to see it so low. So in all of my historical background in the industry, training was like number one or two that I could do for my customer. And do you find that is still the strong value connection?
Well, Karma, I think it's always challenging to get when a supplier sponsors training to get technicians, shop owners to attend. Once they do attend for the first time, they kick themselves and we'll say, why didn't I attend these classes, years ago that you sponsored?
But wait a minute, Mark. You're explain this to me. Your top customers are always there. Am I right? And what you're saying is, I'm really trying to help the rest of the industry that doesn't want to pay attention to this.
I think on top customers might send a person or two or three, but if it's a multiple location shop that's a top customer, it can be a struggle at times to get a decent turnout.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might send their beginning techs, but not their A techs or their leading techs. And I think on the point that, or the survey that you mentioned, Carm, from Tom Ham, bullet point number 2 is from the shops is warranty above and beyond. I think to me that should be a semicolon training.
Right.
Mm.
I know.
It should go hand in hand. And,
You're right.
and I think technicians are tasked with fixing a car that's not running properly, so they need to be confident in their diagnoses. But I think that the true explanation of confidence should be, I know this, but I don't know this. But I think sometimes that confidence tends to err on the side of arrogance, and especially the techs that are the most seasoned or the most experienced based on years in the business tend to resist new ideas, new thoughts, and training in particular. They tend to be a real struggle. I think it's an opportunity that for us can help differentiate us as NAP suppliers, us as federated suppliers versus some of the e-commerce sites like Rock Auto and even some of the Amazon that's trying to crowd into our business and trying to make everything a dollar and cent transaction.
I think it's also I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brad.
I think it's also a matter of the perspective. We're seeing a whole plethora of customers, and you kind of get a feel for who the technologically savvy customers are and those who really could use the help. And as much as you try and guide them towards the training, you're not always going to get them there.
Right.
We hope.
Brad, we'll get back to him.
I don't know what
finish
happened.
your thought?
Sure. I don't know where exactly I got lost, but I think the perspective is different. We see a whole bunch of customers and we kind of know or think we know what their abilities might be. And we try to bring those that we think needed into the fold for training. And unfortunately, and you touched on this, they're oftentimes the least likely to take us up on the training. We do get the repeat customers at the clinics. Almost always there's a core group that come to every one. They want to learn, they want to know what to do with those vehicles. And it's kind of unfortunate. And I think we're seeing a separation in the top tier customers and other customers, those that aren't going to keep up with technology. And I'm not sure what their survivability is going forward.
Agreed. And I think that, part of it is our job as suppliers is to supply them with the tools, right? So if we have an online course for a group academy, or if we have a training facility, not all are going to attend our classes. I think we've all experienced, we support a class and you might have 40 one night and you might have 8 the next, but at least during those times, those 8 that are coming are generally the ones that are always coming. But now with today's technology, like we're all videoing today, guys are being trained from home. So sometimes we're judging that they don't come to our class, but yet they are being trained at home. So it is a very important topic. And I think that as we all say on that subject of training, it's just a great way for that loyalty. And we're just building better relationships and customers and helping our industry. So,
do you see a correlation between warranty rate and training?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And
Depends
so
on
I
product
bring
line
that
as well. Yes.
I bring that up because I think our industry needs to know, the service professional needs to know that they've got suppliers have statistics on you. And if you're going to ever sit down with them and say, how's our relationship? What can we do better? Reaching out in the partnership realm, it wouldn't be too bad for you to bring your new return rate and your warranty return rate to the customer and say, he should maybe the service professional should be asking for it, because if he's working on his business and not in it, he may not be paying attention to everything that's going on, comebacks and the warranty issue. And that to me sends a signal about making change inside the, I mean, you can beat up on a manufacturer because their products are no good, but I don't necessarily think that's a great indicator. It's not something to put on the shelf and say, well, ignore my warranty return rate, it's all about blank. It's not.
Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done that?
Not that I'm admitting to.
We all hesitated like, I don't know.
Dead silence.
Like,
That's my job.
Well, speaking as a former manufacturer's rep, true warranty defect products is probably 1 or 2%, maybe 3% on the high side of true actual defect to product. The rest is either installed wrong or something else that's within the system that was not up to par. And I think we as suppliers, one of the big successes as a vendor to Napa, taking a potentially ugly warranty quote bad part situation at an installer, using that opportunity as a training session quickly in a shop, we can turn that relationship around. And at the same time, I think plant the seed for future trainings at that supporting jobbing group. I mean, that's a huge opportunity. And Karma, on your list of being number 2 with warranty above and beyond, I think that's where we as suppliers really need to push the training. And as my previous life as a vendor to Napa, that's where I really would push the training, push it hard.
I think the other thing that's overlooked sometimes, and I try to make sure our counter people are all fully aware what they can tell customers to give them help, is the technical assist lines that we have from all of our manufacturers. We have some really excellent technical assist lines, and if a customer is having a problem or calling up or they're having, the third starter's gone bad, which we all know is kind of one of those unlikely scenarios, give them that hotline number. Let them get some technical help from the manufacturer, and sometimes you get the feedback that, man, they were great. They just really got me out of trouble. I figured out what the problem was with their help, and it makes us look good. It makes the manufacturer certainly look better than the junk they're selling. So the customer can get help in more ways than just through a formal training session. They can also get help directly from the manufacturers.
Guys, this is perfect. This is exactly where I wanted this to go. And because of where we're talking about this now, I want to dive in a little deeper about the relationship that you have with the service professional. And you all said, hey, listen, we'll sit down, we'll chat about business, we'll get the occasional phone call. Does the service professional understand and know the challenges that you have in dealing with warranty and the escalation of inventory on your shelf, because the new parts come back, what it really takes to find the right, categories and part numbers and the cost of inventory and our slim bottom lines? And I'm not trying to be a crybaby here, but every business, your salespeople, you have to understand the service professional's needs and challenges, and they need to know yours. Is there any of that going on?
Yeah, there is. In our case, we have auto cares that belong to a business development group, and that group is a fairly intimate group. We have meetings about every other month. We talk about a whole lot of topics. It's fairly casual. Our organization is fairly casual, and we share a lot of information. And I often tell them what some of our struggles are at the store side, and they're really interested in knowing. And in fact, they're very helpful and more understanding after you discuss those things. But I think that's a tiny fraction of our customer base that really has an understanding of what we go through as businesses. We think we know what they go through, and we really probably don't know all that we should about what they do as well. But they for the most part, customers don't know what our struggles are.
Yeah, I would agree with Brad, is that the top shops, and we all have those relationships, they understand a lot of the business challenges that we all face. and others really probably don't care. They're just wanting to run their own business and go out throughout their day. But I think it's a great topic that you had, Brad, about getting, the folks together. And I think all of us do that in some capacity. But I also, with Brad's point, is that we don't understand some of their challenges. And like today, we'll probably get some pretty good feedback, but we think might be important, right? And that they tell us that it might be a little bit different important. But I think the biggest challenges that we all face today, one is parts proliferation and availability. Whether you have 2 million or 100 million, it seems that you can never always have the right thing on the shelf. So you have to have that number one thing on your list that you put out there, Cam, was parts availability. And that definitely creates a loyalty, whether you're online or whether you're in the shops. And that creates a challenge for all of us, because whether you're Napa or Federated or our other competitors, the challenge is having the right part when they call at a fair acquisition. So the warranty and the training and all those things are important, but at that list starts with that availability and knowing our challenges. That faces a lot of challenges in the investments, in the returns.
Sure.
Whether we're being challenged from multiple ordering, we all share some customers that may do that. They're trying to test our delivery. That part comes back the next day. We've always reordered that part. It's come in. We all face these challenges in the industry. Just some of those things, I think that a lot of our customers probably don't understand what we deal with in a day-to-day.
I always call that inventory creep. And
Oh,
sometimes if you ran a report on that, you'd realize you probably have 5 figures worth of inventory creep laying around because you bought it back the next day.
Or the next week.
Yeah.
Or the next month.
It
depends. Or the next hour.
Yeah. And so my question is, if I was a service professional, I would say, hey guys, is there a printing press in the back that continues to print money for you so that you can keep having the part on the shelf for me?
Right.
Yeah. And the internet ties right into that. One of our strong suits, I think, surviving in this industry is having inventory and the timeliness of which we can get inventory. The internet is not a local brick and mortar. They can't deliver within 20 minutes or half an hour, depending where your customer might be. They may be same day in some instances. That's still a little rare. It's getting better for them, a little rare. But most of them are next day at best, maybe a couple days. And I think that's one of the saving graces for the brick and mortar parts stores. They demand such speed for delivery, especially for routine things. We're not going to go away too soon because of that. I think that's a little bit of an insulation for us, that we have survivability, and the customers recognize that. And they may have to pay a bit more for that, but they got a car on the rack. They got to get off the rack, and they're not going to wait a day to do that.
He brings up such a good point, the survivability. So put your thinking cap on 10 years. Or your vision cap on in 10 years. Survivability. What's it going to look like?
Less of us.
Yeah. In consolidation, like the rest of the country and all of the things, right? I think that's a tough question, but I think it still starts back to when, our folks started. It's still about availability, price, and service. And as long as we can maintain that and take care of our customers, I think survivability is good. If you go out to the streets and look at cars, there's a ton of them. And you just got to service your customer and have the availability. And obviously the consolidation may be a part of somebody. Independence may be a little tougher, but as Mark and Brad with Napa or us with Federated, that tie makes us stronger as a whole. And same with the installer. I think we'll see that in the next 10 years. There's a lot more group affiliations as we see today. And I think all those ties will make us stronger.
I agree with that. The wild card is the vehicles that may be around in 10 or 15 or 20 years. I mean, if we're truly looking at the electrification of the automobile, that has a significant impact on what we sell. I was just talking to one of my coworkers a couple of days ago about what product lines are not on electrical vehicles. Your tune-up is gone, your filters are gone, fluids are gone. That takes a chunk of sales out of any parts store.
Sure.
So at some point there's a curve. At some point, if electrical vehicles continue on the path they are of growth, and I mean they're small yet, but they're getting there, we could see a significant change probably 10, 15 years down the road where it's going to make a big dent in what we sell.
And how many of you are out there, and how long it takes to get the part, and all of those dynamics that we value today, there will be a paradigm shift, no doubt.
Agreed. I just think it also depends on your widget. So with the electric vehicle, those widgets are going to change. It may not be an oil filter, it may not be a piece, but it's going to be an electric motor. Every vehicle is going to have 500 sensors now to be able to stop in front of you or whatever. So
You're
I
right.
agree, and your maintenance items may deplete, but some of your other widgets may grow, and your average ticket sale may be a lot higher as well. So
Right.
definitely some challenges, but.
And I think, Trevor, to keep going on the electric side, I think those, just as our installers look to us as suppliers to keep pace, I think we as suppliers with our outside sales teams that call on these shops, we need to look at which shops are continually investing in the technology to keep their business going as a going concern. We've all seen shops that maybe the owner is getting a little closer to retirement, so they're not investing in the new scan tools or the new diagnostic tools. So that's something that we as suppliers need to be aware of as well. And I think you'll see some either consolidation or more than likely some shop closures as we fast forward 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Mark. I was about ready to ask you about sales representative relationships with the service professional. A couple of questions that I have: is it getting tougher to find really good salespeople to put into the field to call on your customers? What tasks are they doing today if they're not checking inventory, if they're not stocking a lot of inventory? And what else can the sales professional do for the service professional?
But I think, Carm, you hit on it, where there are much fewer shops stocking essentials as they used to do 20 years ago. So as a salesperson on the road calling on these shops, we are more of a problem solver, relationship builder, and addressing warranty and trying our best to get involved in training, and to a big step, helping them manage their business, as opposed to going in and doing order taking, which we used to do years ago, and that was enough.
And to Mark's point, I think that, our sales managers today, and she had told me we don't have a hard time finding good sales associates or outside sales. We've been blessed with the long term of that. So I think the change in what her job has been today is building that trust, and that trust encompasses a lot of different things. May not be writing stock orders, but you're in there making the relationships, understanding their needs, understanding what parts may be failing, maybe giving us feedback. Maybe there is a vendor that is having some issues. Collections, unfortunately, that's part of the issue today as well. But there's a lot of different things that happen during that transaction, and it's just trust. That's the biggest thing.
Okay, I get it. Now, I have a very interesting question about training and managing a service professional's training program. It's almost like listen, I'm from Vaca Valley Auto Parts. Well, I'm sorry, you know me. I'm your friend. I'm your supplier. I've got something brand new. Here's the training for the whole year. Here's what I know you've done. Here's who's certified. Here's who's not. Here's your warranty issues. Let me help you design and create your training program for 2019. Is that what you're all doing now?
Well, for some of our customers, yes. The specific training, the AutoTech training courses that we provide, I go to my auto care centers and I ask them to choose what they want to be trained on. So they actually pick the courses that we are going to present in 2019. We just finished our selection process and I submitted them. So they're going to see the training that they've asked for. So they're telling me what they want based on what they think their needs are, and we're providing that for them. So we're giving them the input. Now, we can't do that across the board, or we'd have 30 different opinions from 30 different shops. Yeah. But the auto care guys can kind of guide what they want as far as training. And I think what they want is probably what everybody else needs as well. So they'll coattail along with those training modules.
I'll have to echo what Brad is saying. We do the same thing at Fairfax Auto Parts. We have 9 outside salespeople, and they canvass their top customers, select the training, have their customers select training, and submit it. And I believe we're submitting ours as well in another week or so for 2019.
And we have the same basic philosophy. Is we have different manufacturers that present us their mapping for the calendar year, and we choose those classes and set it up, and then we'll host at our own training facility here classes on site. But then we also have a training academy, which we release out at the year to say, hey, if you want to sign up online, here is your format for that. So,
is it worth keeping a resume on every tech that you do business with? And literally, I mean, I know the certificates are on the wall or in the drawer somewhere, but if there's value in the relationship and warranty and they're so important, would it be, training? I let Trevor worry about that. Ooh, that's exactly what you wanted to hear, right? I let them worry. I want Mark to worry about that.
I guess my question is, what use is that information to us? I mean, other than maybe being able to formulate training for them.
Because you're a training partner, and what you're doing is you're having a KPI on it. Your KPI is, listen, we trained X amount of hours in this many classes with and for you this year. Here's 2019, here's 2020's training, and it's the home for training. As a supplier, you're the home, you're the repository, you're the magnet for training, and that ends up becoming a part and parcel to the value for the price that they're paying for you.
I mean, in our market, we're the only consistent training entity, period. There's nobody else there. There's nobody else doing it. AutoZone and Advance have no programs. The internet has no programs. There's not really much out there unless you find an independent training facility of some sort.
And so that $10 issue you had at the top of the hour, is that, listen, the training priceless. I know you're paying for it, but it's priceless.
Yeah.
A $10 bill shouldn't be a factor here.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would say that's still the case in a 30%, not to put a percentage on it, but there's still a lot of our shops today that may not be interested in training, and they're still going to shop you regardless. So, but I think it's definitely an added tool to your toolbox that we have to provide to all the installers, but it's not definitely the defining factor.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to stop for one moment. I'm going to come back and I want to talk about some trends. Your customer's old engine or transmission's going to wear out. And when that day comes, Jasper will be the name to remember. Jasper's remanufactured products cost considerably less than a new vehicle. So for your customer, it just makes sense to choose Jasper for their drivetrain solutions. And, one of the perks of the Repair Pal certification process, even if you don't pass, is the evaluation report. Get feedback on your shop's technical ability, quality of equipment, and customer satisfaction. Apply at repairpal.com/shops. Guys, what trends do you see happening out at the service professional level?
I think on the service professional level, I think that one big trend is finding qualified techs. That's a huge scramble, not just for the independent repair shops, but even for the dealerships. And on that same tack on dealerships, I see a Ford garage now advertising repairing all makes, all models. Honda, repair all makes, all models. So there's a lot of commingling even on the OEM dealership side. So struggling to find technicians, and at that same time, shops or dealerships that may be focused just on Hondas, just on Toyotas, just on Nissans, they're now repairing everything.
And that's a good point, Mark, because in our market, it's the same thing. I think that's our number one thing that, back to our sales teams that are hearing, is that where can I get people? And even if it's trainable people, it just seems that it's a hard thing to get the younger youth or maybe even the mid-grade age coming in that want to go into repair. And it's a challenge. I think we've all talked. I heard you mention, I think, Carm, you were on a community college advisory board. In our local market, we've tried to partner with those folks and try to educate others that the availability of what's in the automotive aftermarket, whether it's in supply or in the shop. And I'm not sure what the answer is. I think it's an industry-wide thing with Yang and all of the others in the Auto Care Association are really pushing towards that. But I agree, that is definitely a big trend, and it's an issue for all of us.
Agree, Brad?
Oh, absolutely. Even in our stores, it's more difficult today than ever to find qualified people that want to work.
So all four of us are invited to go to this little think tank down the road. We'll go to Pittsburgh, for example, and we'll sit in the room and we'll say, hey, we know what our customers' biggest problem is. It's trending, tech shortage. What are we going to do about it? Is there anything the supplier side could do to help, to fix it, to smooth it?
Well, we work with VOTEC schools. Our local VOTEC schools, we try to support them as many ways as we can with training. We offer free training. Our Autotech courses are offered free to them. We invite them to bring students sometimes. We've offered to do student training during the day. I think the VOTEC schools is really, at least on our end, is the ground where these guys are going to come from for the future. And some of them are good and some aren't. And then we try to take care of the instructors as well.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing in the vocational. I think it's more of an industry-wide, not just it comes from the suppliers, our OE suppliers down to manufacturing to us, and in the repair facilities. We just all have to reach out, I think, and touch the vocational schools, because that seems to be where the interest is of mechanical aptitude. A student is going in and want to be part of something that's automotive or repair or others, and that's just a good character to start with, and then from there we can all, show them our options in the automotive aftermarket. So
I was going to add that I think also young people need to be aware that there is a good living to be made in the automotive aftermarket. A good tech today can make significant money compared to what mechanics may have made in the past. It's no longer kind of the dirty, grimy, under the car kind of job. It's now a high-tech job in a lot of cases. And I think they need to recognize that it's a career more so than it is a fallback that it may have been seen as years gone by.
We got a great comment from James Presley, who's been on the show before. Thank you for offering the free training to instructors, Brad. It does two things. It helps them stay connected with the industry, and they are ASE accredited, and it helps them get the required updated training. I'm not sure there's enough suppliers opening up their training for free. Mm-hmm. And I know there isn't a manufacturer who would not say, hey, bring them in. Now, when you say VOTEC training, Brad, and I don't mean to belabor this, but I think the supply area of our industry has so much to do with the training element. Are you talking high school and college?
High school. In this case, it's high school.
That's great, though. See, that's really exciting to hear. Mm-hmm. Because, we've been doing a lot of discussion on the show that it starts in middle school and at the dinner table. If we're going to change the paradigm of, that we've got this computer rolling on 4 tires today and the future of ADAS and the electric vehicles and all this technology that's being thrown in the automotive, that it should be an attractive job. But I'm not even sure our parents of these middle schoolers who have destined them to be doctors and lawyers and working for Microsoft and Google.
Yep. There's still a stigma, and my wife is a school teacher, and it's funny because the schools push going to college. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to college, not every student is college material. Not to say that some technicians shouldn't have college degrees, they may need to, but there are other avenues to take, and vocation in the automotive aftermarket is certainly one of them. And I think there's a lot of kids that may be pushed into something they don't want to go towards because of their parents or even their schools. And I think we need to refocus that there are more things out there, whether it's plumbing, carpentry, automotive. It doesn't have to be a college education going towards some other vocation for everyone.
Correct.
Good point, Brad. That's great.
What challenges are you guys having to keep delivery, the investment of drivers and equipment and logistics to satisfy the need of the part out there so fast?
I think one issue that we in our group of multiple locations, we have one store manager in particular that has been with us for many years. The shops know him when they call in, and he has, believe it or not, trained his customers to let him know, I need this part right away, or I'm ordering this part, the car's not coming in until tomorrow. He's done a masterful job of quickly parsing through so we can still try to keep hotshot deliveries to everybody. But it's just amazing when I sit back and watch him work, and he has his customers trained, Chuck, I don't need it right away, or Chuck, I'm really in a bind. I goofed up. I forgot to order these earlier today. So I think we as suppliers, I think, as training our counter people to start asking those questions, because not everything is a rush. And quite honestly, training our customers. I think that's not to keep on the training bandwagon, but training in a different way.
That's communication.
Communication.
Yeah. But I think today too, in our e-commerce platform, you may not get that communication. And I think a lot of folks are doing a high percentage of e-commerce. So you don't get that chance to interact with that on that counter folks. So I think it's just the consistency that we've all built. As we all know, delivery is very expensive in our models of business.
Right.
And we all face those challenges. So I think in what you talked about earlier, in that next 10-year, what's it going to look like? We may have autonomous delivery vehicles that are put the thing in and go, or we may have,
drones
Yep.
dropped off from a FedEx, or an Amazon bus that drops off in a place. So I think it's scary, but exciting too in the next 10 years to see where that's going to go. And just keeping it consistent, and that's all we can do.
Let's talk about this whole delivery thing. Mark, I think you bring up a great point. One of the things on AMN's survey was knowledgeable counter support. It was the fourth most important, knowledgeable counter support. And you bring up a great point, Trevor. We're doing business with e-com. I'll bet you would tell me that your top 10 customers do 80% of their business with you on e-com.
And that's true today. So I think where that e-com platform is everybody's going to look at you for your price and availability to start. But when they have a question, and today still, that's why we employ the high counter staff that we've enjoyed for a long time, and they're very highly knowledgeable, because you have to have professional staff. That's what separates us from our competition, is our people, and our people create that trust. And those guys, when they have an issue, they want to call them and go, well, what's wrong with this thing? Not everything on a catalog is correct. You still got to go to paper at times, or you got to dig into the issue, and you still need qualified staff to be able to handle that. And I think that's hugely important to all of our success.
Brad, does your e-com system have a checkbox for, got to have it now, okay in an hour, tomorrow?
It doesn't have a checkbox, but they have the ability to type in messages, which most of them do. They'll type in, need tomorrow, don't need today, order from warehouse. So they'll give us messages frequently that tell us what they really need. Other than that, we'll assume it's a hotshot type delivery, and it'll go into the flow with the rest of our product deliveries.
And because you have meetings with your top customers, you really say, listen, guys, don't cry wolf all the time. You cannot live in a hotshot world 100% of the time. Give us that freedom so that when you do have an emergency, we can be there for you. Yep. Is that the dialogue?
Yeah, and we really have very few customers who are the crying wolf type. We all know who we have, and we all know who they are, but we kind of treat them, I think, the way you have to treat them, and that's kind of with a grain of salt. You kind of work them into the delivery system with everyone else. But the customers who you know and trust and have a good relationship with, we know what we have to do for delivery for those customers. They'll tell us.
Yeah, agreed.
Wow. Communications, partnership, intimacy of each other's business, a quality relationship with salespeople. Did I say training? What are we missing here in this supplier loyalty discussion? Is there anything that we failed to talk about?
I think there's one issue, just going back to my early start in this business. When my father and I purchased a bankrupt auto repair business. I was young. It was in the late 90s, right when the R12, R134 retrofitting was coming out, which was a real education knowledge mess. I went to my supplier and I said, I'm new, I'm green, I don't know much about business. I'd like to work with you, you work with me. And I think if not only do suppliers, we I think do our best to reach out, but I think as a former shop owner, shop owners need to reach out to suppliers, and rather than jumping from a shop perspective, rather than going from supplier A to supplier B to save 50 cents, my meeting with that supplier helped put me on the right path to running a good business. It turns out that he was my first call with everything, even if I did have to wait a little bit. And the benefit of that to me was not only did I learn a lot, I went to a lot of his sponsored training, but my business and profit soared along with his. So it was a working partnership right from the get-go. That doesn't mean that we didn't have disagreements. That doesn't mean that I didn't call and complain when his delivery was maybe subpar in a day or two. But I think it's the speed of delivery. It shouldn't all be put on our shoulders. I think the shops themselves need to be proactive and working together, because my sales in a 1.5-year span went up 67%, along with my profit margins, because of the supplier and myself, shop owner and supplier, worked as a team. We knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. Did I help him and suggest that he put a salesman on the road to call him weekly? Yes, that was something that we as a team, me as a shop owner, was begging the supplier for a full-time outside salesperson, which he eventually did. So we both grew. I think there's a huge opportunity, as I see so many shops that the shop is owned by maybe a technician who now has maybe some health issues. So now he's come more working behind the counter, but he's never actually really run a business before. So I think there's opportunities on both sides.
Great point. Guys, are you afraid of what's going to go on with consolidation in the industry?
On our side or on our customer side, Carm?
Yeah,
On the
which side,
customer
Carm?
side, on the service professional side. And I shouldn't say the word afraid. I should say, are you concerned with consolidation at that level?
In my mind, it makes the bigger and better customers that we have stronger, and the weaker ones that unfortunately will go away, I don't think we'll miss them. And I've always said, we have counter people like, oh my God, so-and-so is closing his shop. What are we going to do? Their customers don't leave the market. They go to other shops in the marketplace. So if a small, relatively bad, maybe not a good term, but relatively bad service station, garage goes out of business, the customers that he had stay in that marketplace. They're going to go to your customer if your customer is the stronger, better customer. So I don't really fear it. I just see that as kind of maybe dealing with less customers on a service level.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends too on who the consolidation is. I think there's some different relationships that have been built in our industry to where we as suppliers may be cut out. So I think that is a concern in the consolidation. It depends who is supplying them. And no matter what market is, the pie is only so big, to Brad's point, that other vehicles will move to those other shops that, are still in existence that may have gone away. So do we lose sleep over it? I think we all think about it, quite often, but
yeah, it's probably at 2:00 or in the morning. Bing.
I would say as a supplier or a shop owner, suppliers partner with a big name, whether it's Federated, whether it's Napa. And I think on the shop ownership side, they also need to partner with somebody, whether it's a Napa Auto Care Center, Federated Car Care Center. I think once you see those shops partnering with a name brand to grow their business, their chance of survival has increased. Not guaranteed, but increased.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, why purchase a Jasper quality remanufactured product? Well, it's their people. We're talking about that a lot here today. Their people. A Jasper associate is dedicated to high-quality customer service, committed to excellence, professional, and has pride of ownership as part of a 100% associate-owned company. Visit jasperengines.com. And, once a shop passes the Repair Pail certification, they post results from unbiased customer satisfaction surveys on your shop profile. Now, photos, model service, and other shop details improve SEO and help customers find you. You learn more at repairpail.com/shops. Thanks to Repair Pail and Jasper for bringing the Town Hall Academy to the automotive aftermarket. No charge each and every week. Guys, a couple of questions as we kind of round out our hour here. Do you see a difference as suppliers between young shop owners and the older, ready-to-retire shop owners as far as the relationship that you have?
A lot of talk about that, and sometimes we get the indications that the younger guys are forming weaker bonds or no bonds with their suppliers like traditional parts stores, and I find that not to be true. I think that on the surface, we think they're more technologically savvy. They may be using computers more. They may be searching the internet more. But I think once they truly get into the business, I think they recognize that local partnership is probably a more critical element than a partnership with a Rock Auto or an internet supplier. I think we're still going to get them to that same place, but they're young, and of course we're aging. So I think we may feel slightly differently about it. The guys that have been around for 30 or 40 years, we're used to. We know what that relationship is. But I really think that the younger guys who are coming up, we're starting to see them strengthen their bonds with us as well over time.
I would echo what Brad is saying. I see that the younger shop owners are much more eager to ask for help and strengthen the bond with a supplier or two, and not be as aggressive with using a Rock Auto or buying things from Amazon local, because they realize that's a pretty technical industry.
Yeah, and I would agree with both Brad and Mark, is that the younger are a little more tech savvy, and you might be minimized a few times, but at the end of the day, they are choosing their one or two suppliers in their area to purchase their supply from. And then the older generation is still less maybe tech savvy, because they're still used to that phone call to where they want to talk to that counter professional. And then the generation in the middle, I don't remember if that's Gen Y or X, but it's kind of a blend of two. So it is kind of an interesting time with the shop owner. But I think at the end of the day, it still boils down to our trust and our service and them talking to you. So
in the chat box, guys, Vic Tarasic says younger shop our owners are more teachable than the more seasoned. And what I took away from what you just said is this: it's your job to show the younger guys who have, when they were fixing cars and going to school and trade school, they had a relationship with a parts store. Could have been yours, or it could have been other ones that were easy to do business with. They're on every street corner. And they have no idea what that commercial relationship is like. And it's really the traditional side of the business, the distribution jobber side, to go out and hand hold the value of that relationship.
And interesting, Carm, when you talk about the relationship and the younger people, the Votech schools is where we start to get our foot in the door with them.
Well, that's good.
Because we connect up with those kids at a young age. And
oh, darn, Brad, we lost you again.
That's a good point, too, bro.
Right in the middle of a good point.
Right in the middle.
It was fabulous. And I hear what he's saying. And I guess the message to all the suppliers that are listening, if you're not involved in either high school or at the college level in working with the college, you're going to be a non-existent supply partner when they get out.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think we're all doing that today. And Brad is correct. Even if Carm, you had a good point earlier, we're all touching the high school today. We're all touching the college Votech, but maybe to get into the junior high as something might be the next step.
Well, the junior high is about career days. It's about getting in front of the PTA.
And they start to recognize it.
Oh man, we are having one heck of a problem, yeah. Brad. You're back somehow, Brad. But we went on. We high-fived you. Everything's
thank you.
But we went on.
Brad. Good job.
It's okay. Whatever. These internet connections happen. So good. I think that's a great groundswell to think about is what we need to do. Not only the service professionals' engagement and involvement. In fact, let me throw this challenge out to the industry, because these ideas come to me all the time because my guests always inspire me. Why aren't you and the service professionals walking down the aisle together with vocational, both high school and college? In fact, you almost need to do this. In fact, here's what I'm getting ready to do. I've just made a presentation to a bunch of independents and say, I'm going to pick a date in January and I'm going to get 20 independents to come in to speak to the department chair of our vocational college and sit in the room and say, what can we help you with? And the department chair is all excited about it because the dealerships are mostly at that high level of engagement and the independents have not woken up to that fact yet. They're complaining a lot about getting people, but they're not doing anything about it. So independent shop owners you need to bring them across that, if you will, that walk them down the aisle, take them to the altar. And that's my challenge to the supply side industry. You need to help us fix the problem as an entire industry for getting kids to start in middle school. And and by the way, as you work at the high school level, all of a sudden somebody's going to say, hey, can you come over and talk to the junior high? I mean, it's going to happen. And so we need to do that. Wow, how cool. Any final words?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
the
this.
opportunity. It's great. Nice meeting you guys.
Carm, thank you as well, and thank you to Brad and Trevor as well. It was great discussions.
No, I thank you. Yeah, thank you for the thank yous, but I thank you for being here, because we couldn't have, it would have been terrible for me to just be on here talking all by myself. So